Most people who want to sell digital products begin with the same question. What course should I create? I'm beginning with a different question. How do I turn decades of hard-won experience into an asset and then build a system around it that can keep creating value for years? That question is the foundation of what I call the $10 million project. I'm building a digital products business from scratch in public inside one of the most competitive markets online. I'm documenting what works, what fails, and how the strategy evolves. I'm not pretending that this is a quick path to easy money, and I'm not trying to become another internet guru. My goal is to build a real business through market research, useful content, persuasive sales copy, list building, strong offers, and automation. All of it organized through a 9-step roadmap I call the EverFlow method. Now, in this video, I'll show you the strategy I'm using, the exact number I'm going to be watching most closely as this thing grows, and why I believe this can become a body of work, an income producing asset, and a legacy. Hi, I'm Billy. I'm a writer and a digital strategist, and someone who's been involved in the online business space since 2007, mostly behind the scenes. And today, we've got a lot of stuff to get into, so let's jump in. People I want to help. The audience I want to serve first is professional men, generally between 40 and 60, who have spent years becoming good at something in the real world. They may be bankers, attorneys, doctors, nurses, police officers, firefighters, framers, cowboys, truck drivers, veterans, farmers, managers, salespeople, or business owners. Their occupations may all be different, but they share something important. They are reservoirs of untapped knowledge and experience. They have led people, solved problems, survived setbacks, raised families, negotiated conflict, and learned lessons the expensive way. But many do not know how to translate that experience into content, consulting, coaching, digital products, or an online business. They grew up in an analog world and now find themselves living in a digital one. I'm a member of Generation X. We played outside until the lights came on. I grew up on a ranch, fishing in creeks, riding horses, fixing barbed wire fences in the Texas heat, and loading hay in the heat, out in the pasture by myself. That doesn't make my generation better, but it exposed many of us to independence, practical problem solving, patience, teamwork, and direct human connection. The internet connected the world, yet we've never been easier to reach, but in many ways, we've never felt further apart. I believe experienced men have an opportunity to preserve what they've learned and make it useful to the next generation. The problem is not that they lack value. The problem is they may not recognize the value of what they already know. The expert's greatest blind spot may be the value of his own expertise. So if that's the problem, not recognizing the value of your own experience, how do you actually get it out of your head and onto the page? That's the exercise I give every single one of these men, and it starts with a Sunday morning and a blank sheet of paper. Let's talk about extracting the intellectual property that is unique to you. The first exercise I would give someone is to take a Sunday morning and block out some time. Write down 100 accomplishments that from your life that you're most proud of, not just awards or promotions. Include difficult seasons that you survived, problems you solved, people you helped, emotional heartbreak, mistakes that you've corrected, and decisions that change the direction of your future. Then break each accomplishment down to first principles. What produced that result? What did you notice that someone else missed? What belief guided you and guided your decisions? What lesson could you shorten another person's learning curve with? Maybe you're in management and it taught you a method of earning trust during uncertainty. Maybe your creative focus exposed a blind spot in a competitor's product. Maybe a story someone taught you and shaped how you negotiate, you invest, parent, or lead. When you begin looking without judgment, ideas surface, and that's how you remember the things that you forgot. This is where my working theory comes in of you don't know what you don't know, and it cuts both ways. Beginners do not know where the gaps are. Experts often know which parts of their knowledge are unusual or valued. Sometimes another person needs to hear your story and say, "Stop, let's unpack that." Next, identify recurring patterns, organize them into a framework, and give the framework a distinctive name. The sequence looks like this: experience becomes insight, insight becomes a framework, the framework becomes content, content produces data, data reveals demand, demand shapes the offer. Your experience is the raw material. Your framework turns it into intellectual property. The market's response tells you what to build next. So that's the theory. Now let me show you what exactly I'm doing with it day to day right now, because this isn't a plan sitting on a shelf. This is what my first 90 days actually looks like. My first 90 days. My first 90 days, I'm not centered on disappearing or My first 90 days are not centered on disappearing to build a giant course. They are centered on publishing, listening, building relationships, and gathering evidence. YouTube is the cornerstone. I'm publishing long form videos and shorts, but I am not measuring success only by whether something goes viral. Quite the opposite. I want to build a library of solid, actionable information that people can return to over time. Each video helps me teach, improve, test an idea, and discover what resonates. If my typical video receives 500 to 1,000 views and one topic suddenly reaches 100,000 views, well, the market's giving me a signal. The same applies to a newsletter, a consultation question, or email response that performs far above normal. The signal deserves a deeper dive. Each relevant video will invite viewers to download the free 9-step EverFlow roadmap and join my email list. I also plan to offer consulting calls at approximately $150 to $250 an hour. Those calls create revenue and customer intelligence. I learn the language people use, the problems they repeat, what they have tried, and what results they will pay to achieve. From there, I can develop a low-ticket product, possibly around extracting and organizing your experience into a digital product, and introduce coaching when someone needs a deeper help. I'm not building the product and then searching for a customer. I am building the relationship, gathering evidence, and allowing demand to shape the product. Get paid to learn what the market needs is the framework I am using. Once someone actually joins that email list, what happens to them next, it matters just as much as how they got there. That's the part most creators get wrong, and it's exactly where I'm putting the most thought. The customer journey. I would make one thing clear from the beginning. This is not a get-rich-quick gimmick. A durable online business requires time, energy, attention, and resources. You must decide what you stand for, what you oppose, what you want to be known for, who you help, and what result your framework it creates. Those decisions do not become your personal brand. When someone enters the EverFlow ecosystem, the first objective is to move the relationship to email. They receive the roadmap. They receive the welcome phase in the email sequence. I establish expectations, clarify the outcome they want, and begin what I call edge marketing. Useful education that prepares the right person for the next step. I believe in goals that stretch people without selling them a fantasy. If someone has never made $1 online, I am not going to begin by promising them $1 million a year. Let them make the first dollar, then the next $100, then the next 500, then the next 1,000. That creates consistency and it keeps them leveling up. And I would also tell everybody, do not despise small beginnings. Everyone starts at zero. And I walk my talk. That's why I wanted to start a business from zero and document it here. Content, lead magnets, welcome emails, low-ticket products, and direct conversations create the first customers. When they are ready for the larger system, the flagship backend offer is EverFlow, the workhorse method. The workhorse method is the automated sales machine. Organic traffic, paid traffic, lead magnets, low-ticket products, consulting, all route qualified people towards the back end. Automation then educates, follows up, addresses objections, and guides the right people towards becoming customers. It handles repetition so the business can operate around the clock. But automation should never eliminate the humanity. Automate the delivery, not the care. Now, a quick pause here. If this project resonates with you, whether you're 45 with 30 years of experience, or you're just curious how this whole thing gets built in public, hit that like and subscribe button to the channel. It genuinely helps this content reach more people like you, and honestly, it helps me build this whole thing faster. Now, what will I measure first? There are dozens of numbers a business can track, but at the beginning, I want to know whether the front door works. First, how many people who reach the opt-in page become subscribers? Until someone enters the email ecosystem, the automation cannot do its job. If traffic arrives but visitors do not subscribe, I examine the lead magnet, the headline, promise, the friction in the funnel, and the alignment between the content and the offer. Next, how many subscribers become low-ticket customers? A subscriber has shown interest, and a buyer has demonstrated trust. Then I can test whether an order bump, an upsell, or a downsell increases the value of that first transaction while adding value. When I begin using paid traffic, I want to know whether the front end can approach break even. The front end does not have to create all the profit. Its job is to create enough subscribers and customers for the back end to work. And when an offer does not convert, I do not automatically discard the relationship. I test another angle. All of this, the customer, the calls, the numbers I'm tracking, it all points towards one single asset. And it's not the one most people would guess. The asset that I'm really building. Ultimately, this model revolves around building the list. YouTube, social media, advertising, guest appearances, and partnerships create discovery. The email list preserves that relationship. My goal is to cultivate that list through useful ideas, relevant offers, webinar Q&A sessions, personal stories, honest communication, and generally just being a really good dude, as well as documenting my journey as I build the $10 million project. Now, over time, 4 assets begin to compound together: a library of content, a catalog of stories, frameworks and ideas, high quality products and services, and a responsive list of people who know, like, and trust you. When those assets exist, you are no longer desperate for promotional partners. The right partners may begin looking for access to the audience you've earned. I think of the email list as kind of a business annuity, not something guaranteed, but a cultivated asset capable of producing opportunities for years when treated with care. My goal is not to become dependent on YouTube or any other traffic source. My goal is to use YouTube to build a relationship that can survive whatever YouTube, social media, or the marketplace does next. And I want this library to become part of the legacy I leave my family, a record of what I believed, what I learned, what I built, and how I tried to help people. That is my online strategy for selling digital products. I am building a body of work. I'm not looking to get rich quick. I'm not trying to make a buck and then ditch the very people that exchange their hard-earned money for trust in what I'm offering. I am extracting intellectual property from a real experience. I'm using content and customer conversations to gather data. I'm allowing that data to shape my offers. I'm moving attention into the email relationship that I can cultivate, and I'm building an automated backend system that can operate continuously and scale over time. Now, will the $10 million project reach $1 million? I honestly can't promise that. That is why it's a project, and it's also why I'm documenting it. I mentioned earlier that I like to set goals that are just a little bit beyond reach, and this is a big, hairy, audacious goal. I will say that I'm completely confident that I can reach it one day. But that said, there's nothing guaranteed. My hope is that by staying the course and using data to drive my decisions and listening to the market, that I can make it happen. And I'm going to document it so you can do it too. Now, in addition, I control whether I do the research, publish the work, listen to the market, treat people well, improve the system, and keep moving forward. Hobbyist hopes for sales. An architect engineers them. Now, if you're an experienced professional with decades of knowledge, but you're not sure how to turn it into content, products, consulting, or an online business, do yourself a favor. Download the free 9-step EverFlow roadmap using the link in the description or in the comment or in the pinned comment below. This will help you follow along and understand the reason why I get into the topics that I do. It helps me crystallize the underlying strategy and philosophy behind the approach, as well as how it applies to you and your business. So, follow me on my journey down the $10 million project as I build this business from the ground up. Also, hit that like and subscribe button to my channel. It's the best way to make sure you don't miss a single step of my journey. And it generally helps me expand the organic reach of this channel and reach more experienced professionals like you who need to hear it. Then leave me a comment. What's one accomplishment from your life that taught you something another person needs to know? I read every comment and I'll be sure to reply. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.